Hi everyone, welcome to exercise number 6. In this exercise, we are going to look at Jin Hye's thesis statement for her cover letter. Now, in order to do this exercise, we have to kind of know what the company is expecting. And so I've given you a sample of a job description for an office assistant position that Jin Hye is applying to. Now, you'll see that there are several requirements, and it's not possible to necessarily respond directly to all of them. However, through inference and direct reference, Jin Hye can be sure to talk about as many of them as she can to make sure that she really tries to show the company that she's paying attention to their requirements and she can actually meet them. So take a second and look at the job description that's coming up next. Okay, so many of you might have seen job descriptions like this. One thing might have jumped out at you though, where it said that the job required at least 2 years of work experience. And if we look at Jin Hye's resume, and based on what I've told you, she only has maybe a year or 2 years of experience and then working in a retail capacity, not necessarily in a white collar office setting. And this might throw a lot of people off, but the reality is companies always ask for more than they actually expect to get. The simple reason is if they said, yeah, anyone can apply, then guess what? Anyone's going to apply and they're going to have to sort through a lot of different applications. It's going to waste everyone's time. And so they set the bar high so that they can get the top quality candidates. The reality is, based on this advertisement, Jin Hye is probably perfectly qualified to do this job. So it makes sense for her to apply, even if she doesn't necessarily perfectly fit every single requirement that's listed. However, I believe, based on her history and what we've done so far with her resume, that she actually would be a really good fit. And so, as part of developing the cover letter, she has to develop a thesis statement that proves why she's a good fit. So, take a look at the next samples and decide which one you think is the best. This might be a little bit tricky, but just try to think about it. Okay, see you after the exercise. Okay, so what did you think? I thought option number 2 is actually the best. This was a little bit tricky because option number 1 did seem attractive. We'll talk about those two in a second, but we can safely say that option number 3 is not the ideal option. Jin Hye in this option doesn't list anything in particular that is going to let the company know that she has read the job listing and that she actually already has the skills. This may be something that you're inclined to say in a cover letter, that you have the ability to learn on the job. And that's true and that's great, and companies want that. But you should never explicitly state it if you're telling people that you don't actually know how to do the job that you're being hired for. This may seem a little bit silly, and again, it's one of those things that you feel nervous about it, but just never say that that there's something that you can't do, even if you try to say, oh, I can learn how to do it on the job. Just don't say it. Just play up your strengths, and the company can decide based on their own knowledge of you and your materials whether to hire you or not. So don't ever say, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I can learn on the job. Never. So the difference between option 1 and option 2. In option 1, she lists out her professional experiences as stated on her resume, and that's pretty good. However, the reason why this falls short is because your cover letter should not repeat your resume. You can refer to your resume and supplement your resume, but you should never repeat your resume. Remember, in these applications, space is very precious, and so if you're repeating something, chances are very good that the place where it's being repeated could be used to say something new about you. So be really careful to try to just supplement or explain what's on the resume, not repeat it. The other thing that's important to note is that the resume is almost a list of accomplishments, and even though it should be tailored for each job you're applying to, the reality is it's going to be the same in most instances. The cover letter is really the thing that you can transform and help tell a very different story depending on the job you're applying for. that's part of the reason why I didn't actually show you what the job requirements were until this point. And so a lot of job requirements, they're not going to say have sales that are 5% better than your competitors. They'll say things like have a good attitude. Well, in a resume, you can't necessarily can't prove that you have a good attitude. There's no good attitude test, but those are the kinds of things that you can show in a cover letter. And so that's why I think that option number 2 is the best. Jin-hye says that she has the skills to be successful in the job, and she lays out a roadmap that tells us how she's developed those skills, so in her professional and personal lives. And then throughout the letter, she'll tell us exactly how she developed these skills and expand on what's on the resume. Now, it may seem a little bit funny, personal life, why are we talking about that? Well, again, part of what we're talking about in this video series is how to make the most of what you've got. And in the next exercise, we'll talk about some content and how Jin-hye can leverage her experiences to put her best foot forward. But for instance, we know that she was taking care of her parents because they were ill, and so she couldn't go to college. Well, in fact, that can be a very good professional indicator of responsibility, time management, things like that. So remember, organize your cover letter not by achievements, that's your resume, but by skills or other broad categories that help directly answer what's in the job description. So I know this is going to take a little bit of practice, but that's the basic idea. In the next exercise, we'll actually practice making some cover letter content. We'll see you then.